Hey guys, this is Simon and welcome back to my LibGDX tutorial series. So last time we learned how to fix our physics simulation with the time step between the render steps or render frames that we have. And now I want to show you how you get or how you can react to collisions or when physics bodies make contact to each other. And also show a little bit about the category pits because I did not explain everything yet. And yeah, let's start. So first of all, every world has a possibility to add a contact listener. With set contact listener, you can add that. And we will create our own class for that with their own implementation. And later on, we will register to this contact listener with the observer pattern. So that other classes then have an easy way to access when our player collides with a game object. We will abstract that a little bit. Okay, so first of all, let's create, I normally call it world contact listener, and it implements the contact listener interface from Box2D, and this one comes with 4 methods. So begin contact and end contact is actually when a collision or a contact between the objects is happening, and when the contact gets removed again, then the end contact is called. And pre-solve and post-solve is then when a contact is happening and you don't want that they are I think it's called intersecting in English, that they don't intersect anymore. So you want to solve this collision or contact, then you can do that within the pre-solve and post-solve method. And there is also a way which is called contact set enabled. When you set that to false, then it means that the collision won't happen. Like I mentioned an example, for example, that Super Mario wants to jump through the platform when he's coming from the bottom side, but he should not fall through the platform when he's coming from the top side. And that one can actually be done then in the pre-solve. So when you analyze all those things, it's also part of the iForce Wikipedia page that I mentioned a few parts before. So when you disable the contact when he's coming from the bottom side, then he can jump through the platform. And if it's enabled, then he does not fall through the platform when he's coming from the top. You can also check out an example here on my GitHub project with the platformer project if you want. We don't need that for this game because it's very simple, so we don't want that behavior at all. We only are interested in begin contact and end contact. And what you get here is a contact class which gives you then the 2 fixtures actually which are colliding. So you remember a body is a container of different fixtures, and actually the fixtures itself are then having a contact and not only the bodies. And here you always have a fixture A and a fixture B. I don't know how you can find out which one is A and B, or when it's A and B, to be precise. So we need then later on some method that we always get then the player out of that and the game objects out of that without having an endless if and else all the time. But for now, we only want to print out something. So what we want to do here, just make a debug message for now that gets replaced later on. So we also don't use the class name for now, the tag, because that's not important to show you here. We will anyway need to change this code here later on. So first we want to print from fixture A, we want to get the body, and there we want to print out some user data that you can set to everybody. We will also do that in a moment. And we also want to print out if it's a sensor or not, because I also want to show you here again the sensor concept behind that, behind Box2D. Okay, and also fixture B and fixture B. Okay, and actually the same code, we just print it to end contact so that we know when that was happening. And that's actually it. So we have the word contact listener and we want to set that now. So as explained later on, we will also want to have the world context listener available in other classes. So that's why we define it here and with a getter then later on for the different classes. Nothing really new. You should, I think you know already everything that we are doing here. Okay, so we have the context listener now set up, and we need to change something here in our game screen. So as I mentioned, we print out the user data. So the body and the fixture class have a method which is called setUserData, and there you can set any object that you want as a user data. For now, it's just a string. So here we want to say that this is the circle. Then for the box, we say that this is the box. And for the platform, we say that this is the platform. Okay, let's see what is happening now. Okay, so let's check it out. Looks good. So we had first of all the box collided with the platform. So the box was the fixture A and the platform was the fixture B. And both of them are not sensors at all. Then the box collided with the circle. Both of them are also no sensors at the moment. Then the box and the circle stopped their contact because the circle bounces away from the box. So that's here. Then the circle collides with the platform. And then the platform stops colliding or stops the contact with the platform. And also the box stops it. So actually what we are seeing is then printed out here how it's happening and what it's doing. So I think now you should have a better understanding what it means to have a contact and how you can react to that, which is good. One thing that I did not mention with the categories. So what do you think is happening now when we say to our circle that it can collide with the ground, but it does not collide with the box anymore? But still our box wants to collide with the circle. What will happen in the physics simulation? Okay, so both are gray, nothing is happening anymore. And when we check it out now, so the box collided with the platform, the circle collided with the platform, then platform, circle, because the circle is always bouncing, and at some point it stops, so they are both in contact still with the platform, but nothing is happening anymore. Why did the circle not collide with the box, or the box with the circle, and it bounced away like before? The reason for that is that when you check out the Box2D tutorial, then it just mentions that actually if both bodies really want to have a normal collision like we expect it to have, then the mask bits and the category bits need to be an exact match, let's say. So here we say that the box is interested in collisions with the ground or the circle, but actually the circle is not interested to collide with the box. So that's why no collision is happening, because from the circle point of view, it does not want to or it cannot collide with a box, even though the box can collide with a circle. So that's just to keep that in mind, that if for some reason you have a strange behavior with the collision, then maybe your bits are not 100% correct. Okay, and one more thing now with the sensors, because I never showed an example there. So let's create now a sensor for our circle. Okay, so we create a new sensor, and this sensor actually can have its own category and mask bit, so it's colliding now with the box. And we are using here a chain shape. That's also a very important shape that we need then later on for our platforms. I explained that in a later part, but keep that in mind as well. And you create a chain by telling the fixture what are the different points of the chain. So it's called the vertices. And you can see it's either a float array, or I think you can also pass in a vector array, a vector2 array. So here we are using a float. So that's the first point. So minus the width and minus the heat, so at the bottom left of our circle, and plus the width and minus the heat is the bottom right of our circle, and minus 0.7 instead of 0.5, so it's a little bit below our circle. So that could be, for example, for a Super Mario game, it could be the foot sensor, so that we know when Mario is standing on the ground. Okay, so let's run again the simulation. Okay, so what you see here, first of all, that's our sensor now. So that's the chain shape that we are having. And you see now, so it's inside the platform. And actually you could check now, so if this sensor has some contact with the platform, then we can jump. And if it's in the air, so no collision at all with the platform, then you cannot jump anymore. That's the idea or the concept behind that with the jumping restriction, for example, for a jumping game. But what we want to have now, or what we want to see, is now here. So here we see, for example, there was a contact with our circle, with the sensor, and with the box. So that's the concept behind the sensor, let's say. So what you can have here now, you can have sensors around your player for, I don't know, a left sensor for left walls, right sensor for right walls, bottom sensor, top sensor for the different platforms or the ground and so on. And they can actually then independently react to contact. So you get the feedback here as well and can do them some logic dependent on that. So that's the idea behind sensors now as well. So they are not colliding with anything, but they are still notifying you when they come in contact with something. And that's the important part that you need to know for sensors. And yeah, I think that's it for now for the contact listener. So now you almost know everything that you need to know for Box2D. In the next part, I show you how you can apply a force to one of the bodies. So to move the box, for example, to the left or to the right, which is then later on important for our player movement. And then I think that's almost everything that you need to know for Box2D. So thanks for watching and see you in the next part. Bye bye.